Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
go. What's your question?
Where's me? Okay, so does everybody know what this panel is about?
Do you know what this panel is about?
Panel, I've got a sinus infection. Alright, so basically, what this is we talk about all the really dumb adaptations that Hollywood do with all your favorite stuff. So if you like a book, if you like a comic book, if you like a TV show, they'll mess it up on you.
And then it'll make you cry.
So we basically just we do 2 of these because that's how much Hollywood messes up. So this is our first one, and yeah, most of it is just basically driven from you guys. So if you have like a thing that you think is getting made into a movie that you want to talk about, we'll talk about it with you. If you saw something that you thought sucked, and you want to talk about it with us, we're not mentioning Man of Steel. We'll talk about that with you as well. So it's based on you guys because most of us are hungover up here, so we can't really rely on us right now.
I love that you have the Tylenol.
Under the Dome.
Yeah, there's a good place to
There's going to be a
start.
second season. There's only been one.
Had the same name.
Oh wait, I have not watched it because I read the book. I read the book. How close? Did anybody read the book? It's nothing at all. You know what, Steven? Can you got enough damn money? Can you please quit pimping yourself out? Okay, it's sad.
After he bitched and moaned so much about Lawnmower Man, exactly. Now what he's doing to his own stuff and Under the Dome.
It's ridiculous.
And actually, the problem I have about CBS, I'm waiting for Angela Lansbury to walk by. The production value is, I mean, when you look at what's going on other channels and stuff, it doesn't have a cinematic quality like other shows. Because it's like Steven Spielberg signed on it, and so did Stephen King. They both have money. And honestly, it looks like a typical CBS, almost after school special.
Well, part of it, if you get Steven Spielberg and Stephen King on a project, I don't give a shit who in Hollywood. They're all buying it. They're all doing it.
Whoever said they fired me, I fired myself a long damn time ago. I'll just stand over here.
Oh, show me.
What?
There's food, Widge.
People love us.
Yes! Oh, it's all right.
So yeah, so you've got an example of how it works. You say something and we talk about it. So that was Under the Dome.
Or,
Batman?
so we already covered Batman, right?
Okay.
Good!
All right.
Panel bingo! Panel bingo! Panel bingo!
Which can they retroactively fill that in? Because we were here for a while.
Yeah, there was a lot of references.
I know you guys have been here since last night, for God's sake.
Slept in the room.
Hey guys.
Apparently that's enough.
Where did that come from?
These lovely people right over there. Stand up.
Stand up. You sexy people. All right, so Batman.
We'll do something horrifying in your honor.
As a judge of the room, hands up if you're cool with Ben Affleck being cast as Batman. Good. And how many people really are annoyed by it? All right, screw you guys. Straight off the bat, screw you guys. Everybody has a hand there.
Hang on.
I'm on the fence.
How many of us don't give a shit? There you go.
I just said that. Well, here's the problem. He said standing up just to be heard. The problem is this. I like Ben Affleck fine, okay? Because, let's face it, Daredevil was not his fault. No one could have saved that film. When Matt Murdock and Daredevil walk around with the same cane and yet nobody knows that he's Daredevil, no one can save that film. I like him as an actor. He seems to be turning out to be even a better director. Okay, fine. My concern is this. 2 things. First, if there's a big difference between Christopher Nolan making an interesting casting choice and then Zack Snyder making an interesting casting choice. Big difference.
Well, what seems to be floating around is that he didn't make that casting choice either.
Well, I think that's exactly what happened, because if you listen to the language of him saying, oh, we really can't wait to work with Ben, and you contrast that with, they're talking about, I can't believe we fucking got Robert Downey Jr. for Iron Man! Yeah. Big difference, all right? And the other thing is, what was the other thing? Oh, yes, it was that. Thank you, Aaron. It was the fact that they keep talking about how, Ben Affleck is going to be able to play a really good grizzled old Batman versus Henry Cavill's Superman. And I'm like, Ben Affleck's like 41? I mean, life isn't that hard on him, so I don't know what you guys are talking about, especially, you know, since they've just done the animated Dark Knight, and Peter Weller made a fine pissed off old Batman. So that's the only thing that bothers me, is that he may have been miscast for what they appear to be trying to do with it.
But has anyone actually confirmed that that's what they're trying to do with it, or is that just more internet rumor that it's going to be a Dark Knight kind of thing?
It's fueled by the fact that they got Harry Lennox up there to read from Dark Knight when they made the announcement, which was a bad idea, by the way, because all I wanted to do was hear him read more. I'm like, take that thing off the screen. His voice is awesome. Read more Frank Miller to me, Harry. Do it. But nothing.
So
You
really,
need to
the
get a
next question.
Kickstarter on that list.
I do.
So really, the next question is, how many people are actually worried about Zack Snyder?
Who?
People just want another Superman.
Say, you are my people. Thank you.
Say that out loud.
But is Zack Snyder, like, okay, because this is probably, I'm already thinking this is a dumb
He's
question.
only got one track.
Well, yeah, but is it, because I feel like there's a lot of problems with studio interruption with these movies a lot of the time, that they're kind of like, you know, why don't we just add a giant spider here, or some other weird stuff. So, like, thank you. It's a Kevin Smith
It was
man.
going on for 10 years. Everyone got that reference.
Yeah.
John Peters is very happy because of you, sir.
But that's the thing, it's kind of like, it's part, like, I don't know if necessarily all of Man of Steel was Zack Snyder's vision, you know, or if he was just,
That
he was
assumes you
there
had a
to,
vision, Aaron.
yeah, well, that's true. But yeah, I kind of get the impression sometimes with these sort of things that, like, those guys are just hired to tell people what to do on set, but everything else is decided before they get there.
Big difference between, again, Nolan has probably a lot more clout than Zack Snyder. And, you know, especially when you consider that their Superman franchise, I mean, that's their biggest ticket item, and they haven't figured out what to do with it yet. I mean, when Superman Returns hit, remember, it was $250 million in the hole before they started shooting, because they had 10 years worth of development on it that they had to pay for. There are people who've made careers off of rewriting Superman and working on Superman that the film never happened. I
How
mean,
can I sign up for that career track?
Seriously.
Right? You know, do some stuff and get paid for not.
no, the best was remember, Superman Returns was the one where Nicolas Cage and Tim Burton had pair play options. So they made like $4 million something each, some ridiculous amount. It could have been $4 million. Any amount would have been ridiculous. It was Nicolas Cage. But
How much did they pay McGee?
I have no idea. What, you mean to stay away?
Exactly.
Oh, yes. It was enough, thank God.
You know what I need to Superman from a car wash scene?
Where they're washing the giant spider. That would be awesome.
But like, that's kind of like partially the most, like, one of my most frustrating things about the whole thing is that they think they don't know how to do, like, oh, we could possibly make a Wonder Woman movie, because, you know, that nobody would watch it and we don't know how to make it. But
Well,
they
they
don't know
can
how to make a Superman movie, so what are you
I
talking
know.
about?
And they can barely make a Wonder Woman comic. Let's not forget that. So, but yeah, that's their problem, is that they are. It's doubly bad now, because not only are they screwing up the stuff that they've tried, like with, again, Ryan Reynolds, Green Lantern, not his fault, totally not his fault. It's not his fault they tried to make 5 storylines in one. But they can't figure out how to make movies, and yet Marvel, who does comics, has figured out how to, and they feel like they're completely behind the curve, and now they're playing catch up, and when you do that, you make stupid mistakes. Yeah, right ahead.
Just what you guys thought about it, because DC, the animated side, like Dark Knight Returns and Apocalypse and all that animated stuff they've done, I've bought every single one. I love them.
Oh yeah.
But they can't seem to fucking make a
Well,
excuse my language.
It's like
Don't fucking curse in here, sir. But no, what I think, and it goes back to what I think is the studio's problem again, is butting in. I don't think they give a flying feck about the animated movies. They just kind of, they let the directors do them. They just ship it to somebody, go, give us that movie, bring it back to us, it would be cool. Because they're not worried about it like being in cinemas, essentially. So, but they'll stick their nose in the live action stuff, because, oh, well, we got to be seen as doing the work here. This is what we get paid for.
Well, remember how the studios see, first Warner Brothers and now Marvel, see their comic book divisions. they are tax write-offs because they're basically R&D for properties that they can turn into video games and theme park events and whatever else. Well, Disney wants to turn them into theme park events, but somebody still owns those. We'll put them on cruise ships.
But the difference between Marvel, though, is that I think Marvel have started doing something very clever, basically turning their comic books into promotional work for their movies. I mean, they worked hard at getting us to give a feck about Guardians of the Galaxy again. And it's like they had this all worked out in advance. They will reboot the title, we'll make everybody go crazy for it, and the movie will be out in a year and they'll all be psyched.
And Marvel has been doing some actually really nice film lead-up comic tie-ins, like prequels. Like, I thought that the Iron Man 3 ones were fantastic. I really enjoyed those. They add a lot, and I love the fact that they dealt with what was War Machine doing during Avengers. Why didn't they call him? What was up with him? And then he joined them for shawarma after, which filled my heart with glee because I love Rhodey. He's so great.
Well, what's interesting too is that remember there was a time when they had no idea how to do that because you had like what was it when the first Iron Man film came out? Tony Stark was Civil War prick, and so it was like, oh, I can't wait to read a comic book with that nice Robert Downey Jr. What the hell is this?
They had to work so hard at kind of like getting it back to normal afterwards because they realized, oh crap, people are going to want to read the comic books after the movie went so well.
People want to read this stuff. Oh, that's right.
That's why you have Avengers Assemble.
But I mean, the beautiful thing about it now is that like Matt Fraction has admitted that they most of the writers in Marvel write Tony Stark as Robert Downey Jr. I mean, that's who they have in their head when they're writing him. So I mean, I think they've learned their lessons very quickly, and like it's amazing to think that like between the Iron Man 1 was 2008, and how many movies they've released in that time, and like just how much money they've made. They've learned pretty fast. Like, oh, we can do something with this. This is great.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame that they can't teach that to actual Disney, like with Tron Legacy and some of the other stuff. No, I didn't say it wasn't that kind of lead in, trying to get people, back into it. And it's just, they just sort of put it out there and people are like, what is this?
You mean tell a story?
Tron Legacy.
The soundtrack is good though.
No, the soundtrack is great.
That's good, and let's face it, Olivia Wilde covered in neon, that's pretty cool. But if that can't save your movie, you have problems. I mean, I'm sorry. I do own a penis.
Hey, with Man of Steel, did anybody think like, okay, this is a really crappy Superman movie, but it wasn't too bad a movie. Like you could separate the two, like Superman being a petty thief, for example, stealing something off a clothesline.
That's the film I want to see.
Yes. No, I'm sorry. His adventures as a hobo.
Actually, that would be great.
That would have been a better movie, actually.
Superman looking like Wolverine.
See, I would actually go the opposite direction. I know Man of Steel probably split through him. Some people dug it. I did not, because I had problems with sitting there going, why do you have a cape? Oh, I see why you have a cape. So in your blurry fight sequence where I can't tell one from the other, it's the red blur that's you. Okay, thanks. So stuff like that I wouldn't like in any movie, much less a Superman movie.
That's the bad video game camera theory.
Yeah. Well, and Superman
does that have a name? Oh, thank God! Really?
And Superman is tricky too. Like, Superman has kind of what I like to call the Captain America problem, which is how do you make this character interested? Well, not that Captain America. No, how do you make this character interesting in modern times? Because it's one of the older characters. It's got a pre-war kind of political sensibility infused into it. Like the whole American is mom and apple pie thing doesn't play as well as it did in the 40s.
But I think that's bull. I think that's complete and utter bull. I mean, if you people say like, oh, we can't have our heroes being good. I mean, come on. That's the whole point of a hero.
It's not that they can't be good.
Oh, really? We got bingo already?
Yeah.
Bingo already? My God! All right, what do you got?
We're on
What I
fire.
got is someone orders the general population to read a book. Y'all said I read a comic book several times. Panelists did. I disagree. Y'all just did. Make up your own reason. I'm fucking here.
Well done.
Somebody twittered that they were at this panel. I did that earlier. And NeedCoffee.com groupie takes a picture.
It's this proactivity that really makes you win at panel bingo.
Well done, sir.
Yay!
All right. if you've not read these are Brian Michael Bendis's graphic novels about how Hollywood is insane. So considering this is the panel we're at, it's an excellent read. Enjoy.
You win a hug. You win a hug. You win a hug.
You mean I have to start read the book twice?
Yeah. Sure. Keep reading.
Keep reading, damn
The
it.
problem I've always had with the DC genre of characters, their characters are just ultra powerful. They're all ultra powerful. Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, Superman, and it's difficult to make people
Batman?
that ultra powerful.
In his own way.
He absolutely the best detective in the galaxy, not just the Earth, in the galaxy.
Yeah.
Also, being really, really rich is a superpower, as we've seen from Tony Stark.
Well, as Superman is referred to Batman as the most dangerous man on the planet. So
You take that seriously.
yeah.
You know, that's been part of their problem. You've got to make this new god flawed or
Relatable.
A, relatable, B, I've got to feel that this guy's actually in danger. Sell me that. Try and sell me that. I've read comics for how long now? No one dies. It's difficult to do. At least Marvel's heroes are flawed. Almost every one of them has something wrong with them, which makes them a lot more relatable. And that's always, in my opinion, DC's problem.
Well,
Right, because when your conflict is coming, at least in large part, from yourself or from the characters or the characters of their friends and interpersonal stuff, you don't have to worry about who can punch who through a wall because your conflict is coming from another place. So you can kind of play with that on a couple different angles with a superhero. And that's the thing, like, you might want to stone me. I don't really like Superman. I think Superman's boring. I really loved Adventures of Lois and Clark when I was 12 or however old Heck I yeah. was. But,
Hell yeah.
you know, since then, none of it's really caught my attention. Although I did hear an interview with Cavill where he said that he missed the call where to tell him he got the part because he was rating on WoW. And I was like, okay, I have to kind of love you for that. We have somebody
So how did the original movies work? Because Superman 2 is by far everybody's favorite, I think, right? Zod?
The original one?
The original stuff.
I would agree with that. Yes.
Superman
But
2.
he had a bad guy who was equal to him, so therefore.
But you had Superman 1 who introduced him, and it was still a good movie, but it was an introduction.
Was Zod 3?
No, he gets mentioned in one.
Oh, well, you shut up. Yeah, no, that was being a lot of the time. The problem with Superman is that he doesn't have a bad guy in the movies that that he has to deal with.
You got
Like they haven't really made
Brainiac.
Lex Luthor a threat in most of the films. I mean, he has a harebrained scheme about buying land somewhere, but it's not really kind of well thought out.
But again, that's how I think the animated stuff has done better. I mean, the Superman animated show that was out, 7, 8 years ago, Lex was actually, he was a bad guy, and you were kind of a little like, what is going on here? So they've done it well in animation. I think the problem they have is they just can't, he's just too damn
Well, they had
good.
Darkseid, they've got Brainiac, they've got the Lex Luthor upgraded.
But it's that stupid studio ethic again of but the public wouldn't accept these weird villains. Brainiac, they won't get it, so we'll have to make him just a normal guy with bad plans.
Well, Marvel's doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Marvel's doing it.
Actually, what I'd like to see really is the flip side. How good is Clark Kent a writer? I mean, no one knows. Do you know punctuation?
He writes for The Onion.
I'd like to see that. Like, oh my God, I got thwarted by a bounce check.
I will say that the early seasons of Smallville were good because again, it was focusing on internal conflicts, and the whole thing with him and Lex Luthor starting out as friends makes that relationship a lot more interesting. And so I think it can be done. It just hasn't been done in feature films in a really long time.
Well, you just need to have him have a conflict where he can't actually beat somebody up.
Right.
I go after a Lex Luthor, and the conflict is I can't kill you because that would be bad. Let me bring you to justice the right way.
Well, then the movie they should do is Superman versus Muhammad Ali.
Where's that animated movie?
I want to see that.
Wasn't that a movie? So then
Yes,
the
it
only good
was.
Superman movie we can get is a movie where it's dealing with the concept of a god functioning on Earth.
Yeah.
And how does he do that? Is that what we're saying? Because it seems like they're not going to give us the characters who are equal to him on a power standpoint. So it's got to be the moral conflict. So
Well, they gave you the movie with powers, with enemies who have powers equal to his, and you know they wiped out Metropolis essentially.
They jackhammered the planet.
Right.
Yeah. And everyone was smiling
so
about it.
we've had that movie, and everybody has gone, meh.
Yes, but here, sir, here's your problem. Is that what the
I got
studio will
lots.
do? No. This is all of our problems, sir. If you share in this, the problem is just like Paramount's. Remember when Paramount goes, oh well, science fiction as a genre is tired. That's why they retired Star Trek before the reboot. Remember? It wasn't. Oh, we drove this franchise into the ground because they'll never admit that. So what's happened is they'll come back after Man of Steel and say, oh, well, see, we gave you the big power level people, and you didn't like it. As opposed to, no, you just wrote a crap script with that in it. You had like 7 or 8, I don't even know how many Kryptonians there were, and you had shouty Michael Shannon, and you still couldn't make it work.
It's just lazy.
It is.
You know, everybody loved Superman 2, so fuck it, let's just do it again.
Honestly, that's what that was Star Trek Into Darkness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everybody loved Wrath of Khan, so
that's okay.
fuck it, let's just do it again, but flip.
That's okay.
Well, see, this is actually the thing is one of the reasons we're getting so many of these and so many lazy ones, so many repeats, is that I was reading this article about how back in the 90s and the early 2000s, a lot of studios really depended on DVD sales.
Yes.
It was like a huge part of their profit margin. And recently, with some piracy and Amazon and
Not a victimless crime.
and Redbox and some of the other things, they've lost a ton of that revenue. So essentially, all they have left is like foreign sales to really make their profit from. So they are even more afraid to take risks because it could cost them huge amounts of money. So that unfortunately, it looks like we're going to get more and more, retreads of stuff.
Which, by the way, is why you're getting Hansel and Gretel too.
Oh.
They are really doing
Wait, what? No.
Yes, they are.
They made money overseas.
Oh, but though, on the plus side, it could be why you get Pacific Rim too.
Yeah, I know.
The sword cuts both ways, y'all.
It's Sky Captain all over.
So
again.
did you not like the second Star Trek as a panel?
I didn't. I liked it.
I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was very pretty.
It was
I thought it had. No, I'm serious. I thought
more than Alice Eve, right?
it was.
Good lunch party.
Dig up, serve, dig up.
Okay, the best way I can describe the first two new Trek films is a greatest hits album. And it's not the actual recordings of the band's greatest hits. It's like Everclear re-recording their greatest hits.
Oh, no, it's not that bad.
Like 10 years later with not anyone in the original band in it. And that's kind of how the Star Treks feel.
And see, this is where I disagree because I actually enjoyed it. I liked Cumberbatch. I liked the movie. I want the shower scene on the damn DVD.
See,
See
you
about
can
that.
like the actors.
No, but I thought that they had. I thought they took enough of Wrath of Khan, which, as we will say, is that and the Whales, probably our favorites.
Yeah.
Took enough of it and changed the story. But I don't think they can do it anymore. We've got enough of that. Now you have got to go original.
That's why I'm saying greatest
Star
hits
Trek
album.
movie.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like Star Trek. It was a good space
It was a great
action movie,
action movie.
but it doesn't really feel like a Star Trek kind of story.
It
at
doesn't
all.
have the heart of Star Trek. It
No.
doesn't. It's not. It doesn't value the things that Star Trek values.
Yeah, a friend of mine who I thought was totally devoid of any ethics and stuff, he actually brought up the fact that Star Trek 2, no, a friend of mine, it's like there was no moral story.
Wait a minute, hold on.
But yeah, I mean that was the whole thing about Star Trek. It was one of those we can all get along,
Yeah.
we can all have a better future, we can work together. It's gonna be great. Whereas the movies are more so let's blow shit up.
Well, but see, we've learned that that's never going to happen.
No. Well, the audience wouldn't like a moral story these days.
But the second one wasn't Wrath of Khan. It wasn't. It was we're visiting through the timeline dealing with the original series. That was the first meeting of Khan.
That's right.
So instead of meeting them in space like they did in the original timeline, he met them this time because some other guy, because of the timeline
Doesn't
change.
that kind of point out the fundamental problem of the Star Trek movies? That
Well,
they
but-
actually
so
bring
we-
the stars?
So
Is that-
we all know the history, right? We all know the seasons. So did you pick up the mud ship? So they've already had the first encounter with Harry Mudd.
Yeah.
So they've already met, they're saying that for that first, between the two movies, they've had a lot of the episodes that we originally saw. But the storyline is all screwed up because the timeline changed.
But you know, and that actually brings me to a point. This is the thing that is the most disappointing to me about the Star Trek reboots. What they did in the first film with blowing up Vulcan should have had catastrophic and far-reaching social political consequences throughout everything in Star Trek.
Oh my God, everything.
There are so many fascinating stories that they could be telling. Is there now xenophobia against Vulcans because they've discovered the Romulans earlier and they're a big bad now before they would have been originally? What are the Vulcans doing about Pon farr since so many people's bond mates got blown up? What are the Vulcans doing about their culture? The Vulcans were the biggest, most influential race in the Federation in the original thing, and now they've been wiped out. What does that do
Yes
to
and
the
no, they
world?
were influential. They're one of the founding members, yes.
Right.
But at that point in time, it's 200 years after the founding, plus or minus.
Well,
so
yeah, but-
they're just one of 50,
But still, like
60,000.
scientifically and diplomatically, they're kind of seen as the elder statesmen. So my point is,
'cause they
all of
lived
this
for
stuff
200
has to be
years.
happening. Why don't the movies address it at all?
Well, the thing
they
is-
could do so many cool things, and they're
Because
just
fan
doing
things
them.
will do it better
You
anyway.
need good writers in Hollywood.
But I also think
movies now don't want
that sort of stuff would be designed for a great TV show reboot.
Yeah.
Like if they actually like relaunched a TV show and got into all that sort of stuff, you could have amazing story
Yeah,
arcs. You
I
could really
think
do some great
that's the
stuff.
fundamental problem with doing Star Trek as movies is it's got to be big and explodey to make money.
And
It's
it
got to
can't
be a
depend on
blockbuster.
and it can't depend on people knowing story.
Right, exactly.
But you can be exploding
because I
and
don't.
still have.
Why
No,
not?
you still have other
I've seen the
stuff.
movies, and that's it. I never
Well, because
actually
you
watched the
don't
original
watch a
series.
movie for Easter eggs of the stuff you already know. You want to get a new story.
Well, Kim, you know, when you consider District 9, you know, that had that kind of point of, you know, poor aliens and stuff, and, you know, a ghetto and stuff. So, I mean, that has some socio-political.
Yeah. And there's also the issue of like Vulcan refugees, like they're ending up on these other planets and they're taking resources in space from people.
Yeah, and the only mention of that is Bach on New Vulcan.
Right. And
Peter
what's
Weller's
happening
character, Peter Weller's entire character was based off of the ramifications of the Vulcans no longer being as strong as part of Starfleet Command. You see around the Starfleet table, there's like 2 other alien races and maybe 1 or 2 Vulcans. The rest of it is, old white guys. And
that's another issue.
That is a
xenophobia-
major
We
issue.
can't have
it
Vulcans
is.
taking
That's a
American
whole
jobs.
When Starship Troopers, the film, is better at showing gender equality than Star Trek, you know.
There were just 6 out of 14 people with 6
They did make Uhura a very strong woman. You gotta admit that.
Well, she wasn't a weak woman in the first place. I mean, her was never like a wilting flower. But they had to give her now a relationship
Yeah, but
because
she has to
otherwise,
have
what's
a
she going to be
romance
there for?
really. Yeah, right.
You know, it's like there's still problems with it. I mean, it's kind of again, I think it's a bad sign when the guy who was leading the whole franchise said, "I didn't really watch Star Trek growing up." I mean, I know a lot of people that wanted to cut that guy's throat when he said that in an interview. So I think it shows that he was a Star Wars kid. I think it has more of a kind of a Star Wars like swashbuckling action kind of feel to it than a Star Trek feel to it. And so I'm really looking forward to what he's going to do. I think Abrams is going to knock Star Wars out of the park. But I'm happy he's not on Star Trek anymore. So
I agree, Aaron.
Well, I'm sad because, like I said, the one Star Trek movie I really liked was Khan. I watched all the others and was like, wow, this. If knowing that the series was better than this, I still don't feel compelled to go back and watch the originals because they were mean. I mean, you know, it's like, well, the third film, what we can have is Alan Rickman can play the whales. I think that's. But beyond that, no,
I think we
so.
had Alan Rickman and Terrence Stamp as the
Oh, that would be great.
There you go.
Yeah. But see, my thing is this: it's like you have to decide what you want to do. If you want to make, first of all, this new Star Trek franchise was really smart in that somebody realized that they had a science fiction movie on their hands and basically did not negate the original Star Trek. So the original Star Trek is still over there. You can have all your books and your audiobooks and your games. You can do whatever the hell you feel like with it. erase anything. We just took really, really old Spock and pulled him out of the picture. And we pulled him over here so we could give him paychecks. That should make you happy. So, and then you have this whole other thing, so people like me, who are not the people who are going, oh, well, that's the, and I think that's awesome, sir, that you're like, here's this, did you not see the ship? Because I do that with so many other things. So I feel you, buddy. But I was just going, oh, it's a ship. Yeah, it's like, you know, I was feeling like a normal person watching a Marvel movie. I think that's what it is.
You know, we should take over the Star Trek franchise. Moffat. No. The thing is, he modernized Sherlock.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
No, it's just that he modernized Sherlock so well.
Star Trek has enough problems with women currently.
No stealing Moffat off my Doctor Who and my Sherlock. Leave him alone.
I would say I wish, I know they wouldn't have done it because they just saw, you know, dollar signs in their eyes when they were rebooting Star Trek, but I would have kind of wished more so that they just came up with a new crew. I think if they just started, like, okay, we're just going to take another ship, it's not even the Enterprise, just another ship, and just gave us another part of the universe.
There was that Scott Bakula show.
They did that, it was
Again, they're not blaming it on the writers of that crappy Scott Bakula show. They were blaming it on the audience just don't want to see that.
The Adventures of Yes Asparagus.
Voyager, which had an awesome premise for like 5 minutes, and then resolved every single storyline in the first episode, or you just go, wait a minute, now there's 3 years of people with cauliflower heads? That's your answer? Oh my God, you're out here in the middle of nowhere. You could be exploring anything.
Dude, it's the five mission for a plot.
Yeah, and then it becomes Star Trek milling around aimlessly for the next hour.
But yeah, they had a great idea. It's like, okay, what's Star Trek missing? Well, everyone gets along well. Let's create conflict. Let's put a lot of like crazy terrorists in a ship with like, you know, Star Trek guys and see what happens.
Nothing.
Episode 2. Everyone's friends.
I know.
Yeah, no, Deep Space Nine nailed that kind of idea.
But
Yeah.
see, it wasn't even that. It wasn't even like crazy terrorists. It was just like, well, from
It
the
was
audience
terrorists who
standpoint,
had a point.
Yeah, it was that. Well, these people have a point, and these people have a point. Oh my God, it's like drama.
So
What are we gonna do?
The terrorists are reasonable.
Like, yeah, like I know it, like Gene Roddenberry wanted to paint us a picture of a world where, like, a future where we all get along, but unfortunately it kind of makes for bad drama sometimes.
Okay, it's
We can have
Captain
that world
Kirk
after I get my jetpack, damn it.
being thwarted by a bounce check.
Sorry, we can't fuel up the Enterprise because our debit card is showing 0.
Military. That happened to my brother on a ship.
Yeah, because that would surprise you.
No, it doesn't surprise me at all.
No, he was on a cruiser, and they got parked in New Orleans. They ran out of money. They couldn't leave, and it was during Mardi Gras, and they had to like shut money down. That's not why I have a problem with Star Trek. There's no money.
Sure there is. There's gold-plated latinum. Gold-plated latinum.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, that's.
I want to see where they, you know. Oh,
But in a world where you have like, oh God, what's the thing with that just create stuff out of thin air? Replicators. In a world with replicators, gold-plated latinum just seems a little silly. It's kind of like, yeah, I'll just make like 5.
Yeah, they never really explained how they just couldn't make like a ton of it with it.
No, that's why it was used as currency. Couldn't replicate it.
Why?
It was the rarest
Code magic.
I know, but it's just like, it's just that laziness.
No. All you have to do with that is, well, why can't you replicate it? I don't know, we've tried it, doesn't work. See, they tried it, doesn't work. I'm good. Let's go find cauliflower heads.
The original no content from Star Trek ever was about an accident, or an anomaly, or something that didn't work. So.
We've descended into madness. Does anybody else have a thing that they want to ask about?
Last comment though.
Yeah.
Can we all agree that the best thing to come out of this Star Trek movie, I loved it, don't get me wrong, was that there will not be a search for Spock.
That's true. And they
Isn't that what
reserved.
the two movies technically are anyway? The search for Spock, Spock searching for himself.
This is true, but
My whole life is the search for Spock.
alrighty then.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
You make him put on the ears, don't you? You make him put on the ears, don't you?
Sir, you had a question.
Give it the nerve pins. Give it to
Or a statement, I don't know.
Yes, yell it.
How screwed or not screwed is the next Star Wars movie?
I think it's okay. I'm willing to give it an absolute.
I'm gonna answer that with asking another question. How much worse can it get?
What do you say?
Yeah, I'm really happy that George isn't at the helm anymore. I mean, he seems to be the main reason why the last three kind of went off the rails.
Yep.
Like, there's a reason why Harrison Ford didn't use most of his dialogue the first time round. It's kind of, I think he comes up with some decent ideas, but it's just, I don't think he should be left to his own devices.
It's like the
Look
Chris
at the
Carter
original trilogy.
syndrome.
The best two were the ones where he wasn't directing. where
Yeah.
he was just
Exactly.
kind of
Yeah.
consulting.
Exactly.
Empire Strikes Back's the best in the series, and it was
Yep.
kind of like, shut up, George.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, exactly. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. Again, I think the guy who's at the helm now is a huge fan. So that's kind of a good thing because he was probably watching the other three movies and screaming at the screen as well. I kind of, you know, I just hope, my main thing is, what really bugged me is that the amount of CG that was used in the last three films. Because your eyes can tell the difference between a set and a green screen. And it really is lifeless and dull a lot of the times.
How many people have seen the Plinkett reviews of the original first trilogy?
Yeah, they nail it.
Yeah, exactly.
But like a huge thing is as well is extras. You don't know what you've got till it's gone because so many of those like prequels had just like nobody in the background. It was just empty hallways and empty rooms.
Well, the problem is, and it was I think a Diane Sawyer special, and she was interviewing George, and basically the first Star Wars or the episode whatever 1 was a giant color form for him. He actually was able to take the extras and we'll just put this other girl in. And it's funny, there's a scene with some blonde chick, and when they stop running, she just stands there. Look closely, and she's just like, okay, George missed her, you know. But he would move people around because he had layers. So to me, it was just a giant color form set for him. Just plastic people.
Well, how traumatized was he by shooting in Tunisia? That's what I wonder. Because it seems like all he wants to do is do everything in studio. It's like he doesn't want to do any location whatsoever.
Well, yeah, he's made a lot of money. He sits at home all day.
Well, that's what I mean.
He basically wants to shoot the movie in his living room. I mean, the guy doesn't want to leave the house.
Exactly.
It's like I'll set up a big green wall in my garage. We'll shoot the whole thing in there. Come back to me when it's done.
Actually, I would probably prefer that, really. I mean, then at least it would be interesting. I mean, my concern is about the new Star Wars is that Disney appears to be all over the map right now.
Yes.
I mean, they seem to have diluted Pixar,
yes,
which makes my heart cry in a way that I cannot express in words.
Yes.
It's like
I didn't like planes.
What? I didn't see planes.
Planes was Disney, not Pixar.
Yeah, and they made a point. Disney's planes, where even Lasseter went, no, there's not enough money in the damn world. You got your toy. Now leave us alone. But I mean, you know, so you've got. They can put out fun, good animated movies, and then they can do Lone Ranger. And there's no consistency whatsoever.
Or John Carter of Mars, or John Carter, whatever they call it.
Yeah,
John Carter of Mars.
John Carter. But the other issue here, though, is I think the other issue I worry about with Star Trek is they've already said Star Wars, shit, whichever. It's one of those damn star things. It's not in my track. Screw you guys.
Star Wars is actually in space, and Star Trek hasn't been yet.
Okay, whatever. But the thing I am concerned about is they've already said Luke, Leia, and Han are back.
Yeah.
And they're doing that, and I'm like, there is a whole canon. And I stopped reading those books because they're tremendous. We already know, and I'm sorry, spoilers, we already know one of Han and Leia's children become a Sith Lord and try to take over.
Well,
we know all of this.
that's if they go with the books,
Well,
and I don't think they are.
It's whether you go with the books or not. It's kind of the issue. You're not rebooting this. You're saying it is the same movie. It is the same series. You're not doing a Star Trek here. Okay, you're saying we're continuing this story. We're going to bring your 3 characters who you love back, and supposedly Lando's going to be there and lots of other people. So that's all great, but how do you do that if you've already got this? And they've already said the movies are supposedly going to be with the consumer. Yeah, go.
Well, that was one of the things I was going to ask when we started the Star Wars thing is there's a whole 30 years worth of canon out there, and that fans that I know that almost hate the movies in comparison to the extended universe.
Oh yeah, and the issue with the extended universe, I think you could do a great. I mean, it would be
Timothy's
awesome.
Own series, the Thrawn trilogy.
I would love to
amazing.
see. I would love to see something with the twins and his becoming basically the next Darth Lord, because there's all of this interesting thing, and then they named their kid Anakin, which that was, people are pissed still. So there's all of this very interesting background there, and it covers the universe of Star Wars. It's not just following those main characters. It gets huge.
Have they said definitely that they are not going to use any of the extended universe, or
They haven't said anything.
They haven't said anything, but they've said it will.
15.
Supposedly, though, the extended universe will be compliant with it. That's the only thing they've said.
You know what I would really love for them to do? Okay, who remembers the Tales from Jabba's Palace and Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina? Wouldn't it be great if they did a TV show of those?
Yes.
I would love that so much, because I thought those were pretty much the most interesting part of the extended universe, because it took all these really cool looking aliens that you just saw briefly, and you saw this one little time that they all intersected, and it traced where they it basically, for those of you who don't know, there was a short story for each of the major aliens in both of those scenes, and there was an anthology. I think they were all by different authors.
It's like the photogram of the Singles Club.
Yeah, it's
That
like,
one.
why
They
were
will
they?
be
Yeah,
in
it's
the
very
dealer's
much
room.
like
You
the
can find
Singles
these
Club
copies of
photogram.
these guys.
It's basically, why were they there that day?
Well,
What
you
was
might
going
get
on
that.
in their life
You
to
might-
bring them to that place?
Look, Disney's got S.H.I.E.L.D., Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Woo!
coming out.
Yes.
And
Next panel.
stick around, next panel. And that's solely due to the success that they've had with the Marvel and Avengers series. So if the new Star Wars set goes, you might get that. You might get something like that. There's no reason why. I mean, Disney will follow a formula. If they can make a nickel on it, they'll find it.
Oh,
They'll do it and do it
Well,
and
that's
do it
why.
and do it.
Why is the Muppet movie soundtrack, which has not been on CD for has not been re-released for 20 years, just got re-released?
Yeah.
It's got a big old Disney right on the back, baby.
Yeah.
It's been in the vault.
It's been in the vault, and they did that.
Right
But
next
I
to
mean,
the
I
head,
think
and
if
then
they had not
outside
told
was
me
out. Well, it's not
already,
frozen.
I'm gonna see Luke, Leia, and Han, I would have been. I'm like, yes, let's go. When I know I got to see them, I'm not 200 years in the future of it. I'm not 100 years. They're still alive, then I got a problem.
It's Grumpy Old Men Star Wars edition.
I'd
watch it.
I think
Well, so they can do all
someone
those
mentioned John
character
Carter from
spin-offs.
Mars, and
Yeah.
that was Disney's. All right, we're gonna try and make our own Star Wars. They threw a shit ton of money.
Oh shit!
They named
and
it
they
Marvel.
failed.
That
And
created
they-
their entire core.
And they decided it's easier to pay Lucas $5
$8
billion?
$8 billion.
$billion. It's easier to pay Lucas X billions of dollars and get a winner of a franchise than build it from scratch.
Oh yeah.
That's what they figured out with Marvel.
Is it
You
time to
apply
change
that
the
than it
paradigm?
is.
Yeah.
Is it
The
time to
license
stop
works,
spending
do it
fast
again.
money?
It
Well,
works,
yeah.
do it again.
That goes back to something that the reason why you can't take risks is because you're $250 million in the hole on
Some
your
of my
film.
favourite stuff are webisodes of things that are done by the fans. I mean, I'm a big Fallout 3 fan, and there's they do
He
some
wanted to
amazing
finish it this year,
episodes,
so that
fan
next year's
episodes
package
of
didn't
Fallout,
hit him.
and this shit is just, I would pay to go see it if
Right.
it wasn't free online.
Well, that's the thing is I would just like just please I would like the studios to just take X out one $250 million film, cut that down to 25 $10 million films, hand it to I know they nabbed him for Godzilla, but before they did, the guy who made Monsters, here's $10 million. Go do something with that, you know.
and that's too much money, frankly.
No. Well, he turned it into 3 movies. I've got a trilogy coming out.
I know not everybody loves Kevin Smith, but he makes movies for like $5 million, $10 million, and Red State did an amazing amount of money for a $5 million movie.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean,
So-
that's why you see so many direct-to-video horror movies.
Right.
It's because they're cheap to make, especially like a zombie movie. You just hose somebody down.
Yeah,
with
but the
stuff and
thing
then
is,
it's
it won't happen because of studio exec ego. Because they will not get laid at the hottest bar saying they're in charge of a $10 million movie. If they say they're in charge of a $250 million movie, they're getting
They can lie. That's what
No.
they do for a living.
Not with the girl with the smartphone. She can look that shit up on. She can look
That's
up
what
TMZ.
men have done to get laid since time immemorial. What's wrong with these people?
All of you lie, we know.
Yeah,
We
that's
have
what
a-
you
we have
just
a-
said.
we have a-
How much did it cost
She
to
can
bring
pull up
Riddick back?
reporter.
Oh, God.
$4.
So it costs
I'll give you about $2.50.
Actually, I don't know what Vin Diesel's making off of that, but considering how much money Fast and the Furious is making,
That's why they're doing a Riddick. It's because they're trying to make him happy to keep him doing the Fast and Furious. So they're letting him do a Riddick movie, another Riddick movie.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Another Riddick movie. It's the same damn
They're
script
going
as
to
the
make
first
up
one.
for Chronicles.
I love
that one. No,
Chronicles.
it was still a crappy movie.
Right now
They're
it's
going to make up for Chronicles.
45-ish, so clock's ticking. So if you got, bring it up if you got it.
What about Terminator 5?
Oh. Now, is that the reboot?
Oh God, they're making that.
Is that a reboot or continuation? I can't
Who's
remember.
involved in that?
Where can it go?
Changed hands like 3 times.
I want to say they were rebooting it and then going to do another few movies.
I think it's remake.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
I think it's the reboot. Okay. But hey, how are they not? Hey, no one's ever said if Arnold's in it or not, but he's coming. He's got to. I mean,
Well, Arnold
he
keeps
wouldn't.
saying he is.
Yeah.
But he can't play the Terminator anymore though.
He has a very, very expensive divorce.
Like, there's a lot of things you can do with CG, but you can't get rid of that many wrinkles.
No.
I mean, he just can't play the Terminator anymore. So it'll be interesting to see what they do.
I met a guy who was his butt double.
Do tell. Sweet Jesus. Do tell.
Wait, Midge, you tweeted earlier today and you said, thank you, Warner Brothers, for making my first panel. So.
No, I tweeted that like a week ago.
Oh, okay, so was that was the Batman thing? There wasn't any.
Yeah, no, that was basic, but I figured, we'd be talking about that for the whole hour.
Alright, I was just making sure they hadn't done something.
Oh,
No.
They've always done
Wait, did you
something.
hear the latest casting news?
What, the Ultron?
Yes. You want to?
Oh, is that because Con affects with everyone's internet connection. Has everyone heard who's playing Ultron? James Spader. Yeah, who saw that coming, right?
What?
But again, but again, is he a voice?
We don't. That's the thing. Well, I was always under the impression like that. Ultron's like a robot. He's like not a human android looking thing like that. He's a robot. He's a silver guy.
Yeah.
So and Marvel have proved they have the technology with Iron Man that they can do that for a whole movie. I mean, and it looks good. So I don't see why they would do the. I think it would be a really dumb maneuver to have it actually be a human being.
I'm not familiar with the Avengers comics, but has Ultron been shown as somewhat sarcastic, or is he more like, "I will destroy you now"?
He's kind of like Doom, but without a throne. I mean, he's just like, I am the greatest thing in the world. I will kill you all.
Yeah.
Really?
There's no kind of.
Well, Spader's more sarcastic and snarky.
Oh my God! Did you see The Office? He was so creepy.
Yeah.
Creepy.
He is actually,
weird.
he has played Sex, Lies, and Videotape.
Yeah.
He
Secretary was him, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Trash
just,
secretary.
you could
Trash.
probably make some cool fan trailer if you just get a lot of his quotes from Secretary and move it in. Because there's a lot of punishment and stuff like that in
Does
that movie.
Ultron have a sidekick or something like that?
No.
Oh, damn!
No.
We could have gotten Shatner in there.
No.
People ended up questioning Kelsey Grammer as Beast. I mean, you can't really discount this man.
Everybody
He
goes
was
ape shit
questionable.
about any casting is wrong. The instant a film clip, a still comes out, that's terrible. I won't watch it. I hate it. Give it 5 minutes at least.
Well,
Watch the movie before you
and
have
that's my issue.
decided.
And that's my issue with the Ben Affleck thing is, I remember when Heath Ledger was named as the Joker.
Yes.
Everybody was like, this is the dumbest idea I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, he's terrible.
The guy from A Knight's Tale's gonna be the Joker? What?
Yeah, no, and it was like, yeah.
10 things about
10 things I hate, 10 things I'm gonna kill about you,
10
Batman.
things I hate about this movie.
Well, and back up beyond that, and you got, the Michael Keaton announcement for Batman.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Whereas, I was sitting there going, no, I don't think you watched Beetlejuice, because he was actually a little bit dangerous in that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, fine, let him do it.
But it's always a case of basically, well, he wasn't the guy that I picked to make the movie, so therefore he sucks.
And of course, with Twitter and everything, it ends up being this huge, like.
And yeah, so that's why I don't really care, because until I see it, I just don't know. I mean, I just don't know on this one, but there are others that I go, oh, you make me nervous.
You see, I don't have the problem with the explosion because always with this, you always have the moment of, huh? It's when people keep going with that, it's like, yeah, wait until you see the movie.
Well, there's nothing wrong with being nervous about a casting.
True.
And that may actually, because when the interwebs go crazy with that shit, it's, maybe that gave Heath Ledger another push. It's like, fuck you. I can own this fucking role.
And Spader, literally, I'm trying to think of something I haven't actually, when I've seen him in it and I've gone, oh, I just could not stand him in that. I've liked him in a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
I loved him in Pretty in Pink because he was an asshole in Pretty in Pink, and you hated him, and that's what he was supposed to be.
The thing I think that's going to be interesting about Spader in this is that he has a certain way, outside of doing snark, of doing a swagger without being over the top.
Yeah.
So,
and again, he can also do creepy.
I think you have a nice combination of creep and swagger that could actually really make it work.
Look, I thought Chris Evans was the dumbest thing ever about
They aren't thinking about Ultron as a character. Because why put in something like James Spader if they're not going to have somebody who can really deliver a
Well, and I think also you're going to go with CG on that because why would you want to go with the I believe it's called the Michael Chiklis effect,
Yeah.
Well,
oh no, I want to be in the shot. It's like I bet he was hating that for both movies. Like, what was I thinking?
Well, they might do the thing that they did with the Hulk this time round, is where they'll have him stand there and have the points on his head, and they'll just CG it afterwards.
Well, it also shows you too how much pull Downey's got in the films, because Spader's a really good friend of his, and he's got this huge part now.
That can only help things.
Yes.
It really, he has a great network. I mean, he honestly does.
Also, I will say, I'm excited to see what they do with it because the Iron Man suit is so freaking sexy. I really have a lot of confidence in any kind of. Oh, don't tell me you don't think it is. Come on.
Well, look, Iron Man 1
with the ears.
What was that?
Iron Vulcan.
Especially, and Iron Man 2 was not the strongest, but the briefcase armor was so cool.
The briefcase armor is really cool. I mean,
I have an animated gif of that, like, coming out of it. Yeah, it's so great.
Hey, look, you need a
Yes, Tumblr's Wi-Fi only. Okay.
We're getting short on time. Anybody else has got a one?
Days of Futures Past?
Days of Futures Past. Oh, okay.
When the fuck did it become the porn? Did you see that thing of like what's his face? I can't remember the guy who plays Xavier.
Wait, you're complaining about porn?
70s porn.
Who are you?
But why Wolverine and not Kitty? What's wrong with Kitty?
Well,
Because she's a woman. You can't go back in time if you've got a uterus.
There are sandwiches you won't be making.
I just,
do you know what the dumbest thing is? Like, X-Men is like one of the strongest female kind of contingents in comic books in general. I don't know if anybody's reading Brian Wood's X-Men run at the moment, where it's just a female team.
It's amazing.
It's brilliant.
Wait, hang on. How much are they paying Jackman for these films, and they couldn't give Ellen Page some money?
No.
Yeah, it's not like Ellen Page isn't a star as well. It's like they couldn't.
She's not Wolverine. Wolverine just
stuck in dreams.
She's adorable.
just put Wolverine on cereal, whatever. It's catching out.
I was actually intrigued about it because I enjoyed First Class, especially for a film where they basically handed them, here's all the people that nobody's using right now, make a film. And I was like, wow, it's actually good. And, by the way, Hugh Jackman's best showing as Wolverine was in that film. Not his fault. He's an amazing freaking Wolverine. One day we will have enough Wolverine movies where we can splice together a fan movie that's 15 minutes long. It's awesome.
And who votes with bears?
Yes, but the fact that there's bone claws now makes me want to punch a kitten in the face.
I hate that.
I hate bone claws.
And knowing how Widge is allergic to cats, that's saying something.
I knew the bone claws would come up.
Yeah, no,
But I mean, it's one of those things though. Like when you see set pictures and they look really dorky, like it kind of looks visually like a little bit. Like I saw the new. Everyone seen the new Sentinels?
Yes.
They look like if Mac created Sentinels. They don't. I want a bit of rust on a robot.
But,
you know.
But remember,
wow, really?
Ladies.
I haven't seen the photos that you're talking about, but I just remember, like, for example, if it's a set photo, it's never going to look as good as the actual thing. It's like it hasn't been through post. It's like when the Wolverine, all black outfit from the first X-Men film was leaked, and it looked like a stunt guy in a black leather outfit, and everyone was like, oh, shit, oh. It's like, well, he's standing in a dressing room in horrible lighting. What do you want? So I mean, I
I do like the way they look at the Trask, the commercial.
Yeah, they dealt with that
They
already.
put out
Right.
the Trask commercial.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, I'm not as big a fan as First Class as Winch and some of the other guys are. When the guy whose whole power is that he can evolve and don't die dies, I kind of lose the plot. But it's a Singer. It's going to be interesting because he's got a point to prove now. He left the franchise. It kind of went downhill. Kind of. You know.
He was already the freaking mole man, okay?
Yeah. And then, you know, he went to do a Superman movie, which he was really passionate about. That bombed. He's got a point to prove. He wants to come back, and as he said, he wants to put the X-Men franchise right. So, so I'm hoping at the very least that sort of passion that's going to be there is going to give you something good at the end of the process. But you just never know with these things.
And it's got like 30 characters in it, so I have.
Yeah, the cast lineup at Comic-Con.
When Hall H isn't big enough, there's more people in the cast that are in the crowd, you got a problem.
I was surprised to see Anna Paquin in that cast photo as well. Because she's depowered, so I don't know. Well, I mean, you know.
Hey, Aaron.
So was Magneto.
I know. I'm looking for sense to happen in the movies. I know. I'm the asshole here. I'm the asshole.
My biggest problem with Wolverine was that I didn't get excited for the movie until Magneto showed up. I was like, oh my god! Then it's like,
I just
that's
wanted
the
to
best
fight
part.
some ninjas, not be a ninja pincushion.
Yeah.
Like, really, you got 10 seconds of, how many did you bring? Apparently enough to take you down, you mouthy son of a bitch.
Okay, you know what?
me
If the
while I
most
yawn.
exciting scene in a Wolverine film happens in an airport, that's your problem.
Well, and his sidekick girl was a lot more interesting than he was for most of the film. I wanted to see the movie about her. I'm like, forget this mopey guy. I want to go see what she's up to.
I want Jubilee.
I know.
I want Jubilee to happen.
So much.
But yeah, you had to preface that.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
I don't know.
We got 2 or 3 minutes left. Quickly, if anyone wants a quick one in. Or are you all sick to death?
Having said that, I want to put a shameless plug. If you haven't seen The Grandmaster yet, if it's not your city, oh my god, you have to go see it. Wong Kar-wai's The Grandmaster. It's about the Kung Fu master who taught Bruce Lee. Because they can't make a Bruce Lee movie. It's incredible.
It is in Atlanta.
Speaking of shameless plugs, Widge.
Yes. All right, so while we're wrapping up, tonight at 8:30, we'll be doing the Highly Evolved Fun Fest, which is now your show of shows. We'll be doing we'll be playing games, we'll be giving away fabulous prizes, and we'll be letting you help us record the 200th episode of Weekend Justice. It'll be our first improvised Weekend Justice. The rest of them are heavily scripted.
Can we do introductions?
You have told Doc and
Introductions,
Dave it's
Widge?
gonna be-
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
We need to do introductions.
And of course we have our zine Derelict, which is here. Yes, bingo! Wonderful.
Yes.
1 second, we'll ask you in just a second. Let me finish the plug and then someone else can bingo. Yeah, so we have our Derelict, second issue of the zine, which has drawing by Sylvester McCoy in it, and an interview with the professor from Gilligan's Island.
Russell
yes?
Johnson.
Yes. So that's the kind of weirdness that is in this.
And it has booze recipes.
Scott.
Very important.
Yeah.
They need help with that. They're at Dragon's Con. They don't need recipes.
No, nothing
Hey,
for
so you can
Sylvester
always try a
McCoy,
new
nothing
one.
for the professor. Booze recipes, yay!
It's DragonCon.
We know he knows our crowd.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, other shameless plugs. All of us and more will probably be back up here Monday at what time?
2:30.
2:30 Monday. These guys will make you cry as you go home.
We'll do our best.
Round 2, the sequel.
Yes, whatever's left of us.
Also, just as I said earlier, charity. Put it in Lee's little box, hush up, and then get a sticker. So thank you guys very much.
And please go on to the app and rate
Yes.
not just us, but any panels you like, but especially us. Rate the panel so that they know that we actually showed up.
And as a track director, let me just say, please, we do get those. We are using them, and if all of us are getting them, all the
Okay,
track
so get your
directors.
phones out now.
So do the rating of the app, and if you have for anything, constructive criticism. Telling somebody that they suck doesn't help. Telling us how we suck and
Well,
how we might be better.
Also, any of us need coffee before on any panels, radio-based panels as well. So it helps all of us.
Yes. All right, so bingo, what did you have?
Shameless plug.
Yes, of course.
Always.
Sexual innuendo. I
Lots.
put money in
Yes.
the box. The audience disagreed.
Yes.
Yeah.
A panel member is wearing a hat.
Yes.
Everyone talks at once, which is a given.
Of course.
That's the free square. Okay, hands up.
Oh yeah! That was switch.
God's name.
That will be on your track floor later.
Give you the art of epic from
This is her demo reel.
It's the heaviest thing in my bag.
Oh,
All right, so other bingo people, what? So you got what?
Who else had a bingo card?
Was anybody close?
Well,
Anyone close?
make 5 things up.
What are you missing?
I bet we have
Tuffley
it.
didn't lose it.
What?
Tuffley didn't lose it.
Oh, he lost it.
Well, he wasn't wearing the ear.
He lost it many a times.
We were talking about the ears in the suit.
Anyway.
Tuffley, what do you think about current music?
Tuffley never had it.
Tuffley lost.
Sunday morning.
Yeah. If you want to see him lose, then go to 11:30 in the Bacon on Sunday.
I'd also like to
I
have
love your
Ron
hat.
Gorman has impeccable taste in music, which I do not see.
That's well weird because that's normally a given. But anyway, regardless, it's just, he booked bad.